Good day, folks. Welcome to Andrew's Life. I hope everyone's doing great today. Well, today we're going to talk more about Asperger's. And I got a little cheat sheet here just so I stay on track and try not to be too repetitious with what I say here. But today I'm going to go over 10 signs, 10 of the signs of people who have Asperger's. And this is for people who are adults who have Asperger's, such as myself. And either as I go over this list or maybe after I go over this list, I'm going to let you know which one of these that I tend to exhibit personally. Now, of course, this is not medical advice. This is just, I guess, for entertainment purposes, and hopefully, although it is entertainment purposes, you still learn a thing or two when you get done watching the video. And maybe this video might help some of you out a little bit. Maybe you might have a loved one in your life. Maybe you got somebody that's in high school and they're getting close to adulthood. And maybe this video might help you out with your son or your daughter if you notice that they're exhibiting any of these symptoms. And again, this is not medical advice, it's entertainment purposes, but hopefully you learn something. So, with that being said, social difficulties is the first thing that is going to be noticeable when you're dealing with people that have Asperger's. And I myself have what you would consider social difficulties. And when they talk about social difficulties, they're talking about social cues, like, body language, for an example. And a lot of times when people want me to do something and they're not able to tell me verbally what they want, and they give off certain type of body language or signs, a lot of times I can't understand what people are. Sometimes I understand what people mean. Sometimes I don't understand what people mean, and if I don't understand what people mean, it can get rather frustrating for me and the other person. So social difficulties is the first sign. Well, none of this is in any particular order, but social difficulties is one of the signs that you're going to notice for people who have Asperger's. The next one is restricted interest and repetitive behavior. Now, for those of you that have been following me, I'm pretty sure you guys notice how I might repeat certain things multiple times. Sometimes when I replay my video, I notice that. And that is one of the signs of people who have Asperger's. Now, to elaborate on that, they're talking about intense and nervous interest that may consume a significant amount of time and energy along with repetitive routine and rituals. Again, I do go through that myself. I mean, I notice when I'm at work. Like if I'm working, let's say, stripping and waxing floors for an example, or maybe they put me on just regular custodial duty to where I do some housekeeping and I'm just mopping floors. Sometimes I might go over the same spot multiple times just to make sure that the area is clean, even when I'm cleaning my own house. Sometimes I might sweep the same area, 2, 3 times just to make sure all the dust and all the crumbs and whatever is off the floor. When I'm cutting my grass, same thing. Rather than going over an area once, I might go over it at least 2 times just to make sure that area is done. And that's what they mean by restricted interest and repetitive behavior. Now, as far as restricted interests go, basically what they mean is I might zero in on one particular topic, or I might zero in on one particular task. Like rather than looking at the job in its entirety and just getting it done, I might zero in on a specific task and take way entirely too long doing it. Which again, I definitely exhibit that because I exhibit that. I just do. And there's jobs I've had to where that has got me in trouble. Like there's jobs where I may have had a speed requirement, and my Asperger's has slowed me down significantly to the point where I lost a job or I got frustrated and I quit the job because people told me I was moving too slow. The next one we're going to talk about is difficulty with empathy and emotional, uh, well, regulations, they call it. Again, for me, that's very true. Now, I know that now there's been some times, unfortunately, that I had loved ones that passed away. And when I went to the funeral, you know, a lot of my other family members, they may have been crying, they may have been tearful. Me, I'm just sitting there like, whatever. It's not because I don't care. It's just because maybe it's due to my Asperger's. I'm just not the kind of person to show a lot of emotion, if any emotion at all. I mean, even when one of my loved ones passed away, a lot of people might shed a few tears and cry. Me, I just sit there and just kind of like where I'm sitting right now. Just sit there and just look. And some people take it the wrong way. They think, man, okay, this dude cold as fuck. He don't care, and that ain't the case at all. So if you have a loved one or someone that you care about, and it seems like emotionally they're not available, it could be because they might have Asperger's. That's not going to always be the case, but it's possibly the case. The next one is literal in, inter inter I can't read it. Literal interpretation of language. Difficulty understanding sarcasm, humor, figurative speech, leading to misunderstandings. Again, I have that. I do exhibit those behaviors myself. That is very true because there's been times in the past and there's been times even recently where I might get among a couple of my friends or maybe some family members and they might crack a joke and everybody's laughing except for me. I'm just sitting there like, man, what the fuck you just say? I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So, again, if you have somebody in your circle that's like that, not always, but it's possible that they might have Asperger's or a touch of autism or whatever the case might be. Because I'm definitely not the one to immediately uh, understand sarcasm or jokes. The next one is uh, clumsiness and motor coordination issues. You know what? Very true. I mean, I know we're talking about adults with Asperger's, but I would say throughout my entire life, I have never been the kind of person to be good at athletics. In fact, when it comes to work, I have never been the kind of person to be able to multitask. And my coordination skills are complete shit. I'll be honest, they are. And unfortunately, that's another trait. Well, not a trait, but that's another characteristic of a person that might have Asperger's. Again, that's not in all people with Asperger's, but it's in many of us. It's definitely in myself. And sometimes I am a little clumsy. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay, the next one is sensory sensitivity, hypersensitivity, or hyposensitivity to certain stimuli such as sound, texture, and smell. Again, very true because there's certain noises that people might make, which for most people it's whatever they don't care, but for me it gets on my very last freaking nerves. And this, for some of you, this is going to sound funny, but there's people that, they're in a good mood or whatever, and they might be at work or they're doing whatever, and maybe they might get to singing. Now, most people like people that sing. Me, it gets on my nerves. In fact, when people are saying, I'm thinking, man, just shut the hell up and get out of my face and go somewhere. I mean, I'll be honest, because I just cannot stand singing. I just can't. Never had, never will. And that's another characteristic of people that got Asperger's. For some of us, anyways. Definitely for myself. The next one is, let's see, difficulty with change and transition. Well, again, I struggle with that too, depending on the circumstance. Now, if I'm working at a job, especially one that I dislike, and there's a lot of changes going on, yes, depending on what the change is or the changes are, it might take me a little longer to adapt than the average person. Now, here's a weird thing though. Now, although I prefer to have a home base, I also love to travel. For those of you that have been following me, you should know that because I started off this channel as a traveling blog type of channel, and I still will do those videos. So although I do like routine, although for the most part I do like things to be the same from from day to day, I also like change. I mean, sometimes I like the change of scenery. Sometimes I even enjoy the change of climate. And like I said, although I enjoy having a home base, I also like to travel around to different parts of the country, to different countries, and experience different stuff. Okay, the next one is unusual communication style, and okay, use of formal or monotone speech, difficulty with nonverbal cues, and tendency to focus on specific details rather than overall conversation. I've kind of already talked about that before. But again, that is, for me anyways, that is very true. Because I might have a way of saying something, and a lot of people don't understand what the hell I'm talking about. Now, people that are close to me and they know me, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I might say something, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I was very clear, I was very precise. So, how did this individual not understand what I was saying? So, sometimes it gets very frustrating because I'm thinking I'm being clear, I told you what I wanted, but then that person comes back and they tell me, well, I don't know what you're talking about, whatever, whatever. So after a while, it can be rather frustrating for me and probably the other person. So challenge with unusual communication style. Yeah, that's definitely me. The next one is challenge with social problem solving. Again, definitely me. Part of the reason why that for the most part I'm a loner. For the most part, I prefer to be by myself. And this is a characteristic that many people with Asperger's tend to exhibit. I mean, tend to have. I mean, ever since I can remember, I have never been a people person. Like when I travel, I prefer to travel by myself. And challenges and social problem solving, you know what? To be completely honest, this is one of the reasons why I have not been successful at keeping a relationship with a woman. Because, you know, you get into a relationship, you got two different people, two different personalities, and all that good stuff. And at some point, there's going to be disagreements, there's going to be arguing, and there's going to be bickering. And to be quite frank, all that gets on my nerves. It stresses me the hell out. And even if you got some close friends in your life, if you're super close with them, at some point there's going to be arguing, there's going to be disagreements, and all that good stuff. So for me, I might typically visit my friends, like even when I lived closer to my friends up in Indiana, you know, I might see them once a week, or sometimes it may be once a month. I mean, my family, I see them once every few months if I'm lucky. And that was even back when I was up in the Midwest. But to be quite frank, I know, at least for me, this is one of the main reasons why, if not the main reason why, that I prefer, for the most part, to be by myself. Because I really don't, I mean, sometimes I just think that interaction with another person is just weird, it's odd, it's strange, and a lot of times I'm just not a fan of it. I mean, when people, I'm not a fan of dealing with any type of arguing or confrontation. I just assume, you know what, either we're gonna be good, or you can get it, you can go on about your way. I'm gonna go on about my way, and I will gladly and happily be by myself. Let's see here. Now the 10th one is cognitive strengths. Individuals with Asperger's often possess strong cognitive abilities, particularly in areas such as logic, memory, and attention to details. Now, I would say for the most part that is me all day. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there has been a lot of times throughout my life to where my logic was lacking big time and I made some very poor decisions. And mainly I'm speaking financially, I made some poor decisions. Now, I do have a fairly good memory and I do remember details. Like, for an example, I want to say about a couple of years ago, I went to go visit my foster mother in Ohio. We were sitting and talking, and I brought up, hey, hey, it's like, hey, do you remember the thing let me think here. There's a blue station wagon that I remember my foster mother, along with her husband, driving. It was a blue Mercury station wagon. It was a Mercury. I want to say it was a Mercury Linux. It was basically the trend of the Ford Escort. And I know for a fact that they used to own that station wagon. Now my foster mother, she never, she does not remember that car at all. And she's got a very sharp memory, very bright woman, but does not remember that car. And I know for a fact, I'm not crazy. They used to own that car. Cause I remember as a kid, I would always ride in the back of the car. And that always used to be the car that we drove whenever we went to church Sunday and also on Wednesday. And then they also had a big red car. It was a late 1970s two-door Ford Thunderbird. Now that car, she remembers because it used to be her car. So that's just a small example of the cognitive strength that many people who have Asperger's tend to have. And those are 10 of the common symptoms of people who have Asperger's. And that's going to do it for the video today. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. And I will catch you guys on the next one.